I have been a PI now for about 10 years, and it's interesting to see as I've had about 10 students graduate now. Some come in a way almost fully formed, like Ben, and others require a little more nurturing. And so I've always tried to kind of tailor the training approach to each individual student, but there are definitely a couple of themes that I have tried to get across. One of the things that these both actually really takes development. It takes a lot of work. Is that one thing I've tried to instill in people is to do things in a creative fashion, and we oftentimes think that creativity comes from inspiration, but I think which can certainly be true, it comes out of thin air, but really creativity comes out of the fact that you are diversely read, the literature very well, and you can apply something from one area into another. And a lot of our projects and a lot of the things that I try to instill in people is trying to make those connections across broad parts of the literature to bring something new into existence. And of course, that's super important as you go on to start your own lab. The other thing that I really try to stress, and it's really important for what Ben just said in terms of new trainees, particularly now more than ever, that want to take an entrepreneurial path, or even in your own academic path, is you have to develop a sense of agency. You have to understand that it ultimately is your responsibility, and you have to take you have to take things under control for yourself, and I think that's something that starts in early days as a graduate student, as you begin to assume control of your project. It's something that can be learned and taught as you sort of inch your way, first starting on a simpler project, and ultimately, hopefully, expand that into something much larger, perhaps more high risk, high reward. But students have to have that agency, and if you as you go into either starting your own company or run an academic lab, it's interesting because we don't get trained in that in many ways. It's like running an academic lab is running a small business, in the same way that Ben was running a small business. Now he's running a much much larger small business. Nobody trains you for that. It's crazy that we don't do that in the in the current state of the world. You have to learn that on the fly, and there's this very elaborate selection process for faculty, but some of the most basic things are not encouraged or selected for. Ben's chuckling there because it's totally true. It's like just
100%.
Totally crazy. And I think actually, for both of us, perhaps one reason we realize that, I know, Ben's parents, were both in various industry and business and small business, and my parents were both doing that too. So I think I grew up with that as part of that sort of hustle, as part of the way that I was raised. But certainly I didn't get it in my PhD training, which is really sad. So definitely try to give that sense to people.
Yeah, I mean, if I can just jump in there, because Dave sparked some real good thoughts. The pragmatic advice, I think that I would give people, it is like, I am a different person for sure, because I took 2 years to be a technician engineering zinc pure nucleases. There's a lot of reasons for that, in terms of the effects that had on me. I don't know that I agree with Dave that I am a fully formed individual. I think there's still quite a bit missing. But I will say that technicianship, working on zinc pure nucleases, 90 hours a week in the lab, really thinking about all the different ways that we could do this better, because it was visceral for me, was really powerful. And I think that once again, has to be with the right mentors, right? And I had a fantastic mentor in Marcus Noyes during that technicianship. That can be a really powerful experience that helps in many ways, and I think did give me personally a real advantage when I came into grad school, already knowing exactly what I wanted to do, because I had the 2 years to basically read and learn, and then ultimately get smacked upside the head by a new technology that obviated everything that I was doing. Not really, but in many ways it did. And that was a real learning and growth time for me. And so if someone is interested in going into, I think maybe academia or going into biotech entrepreneurship, and you're in college, you know, I don't think that the right answer is to jump. I don't think the right answer has to be to jump right into grad school. I think that, you know, pragmatically really seeing a bit more of the world, whether it's being, you know, deep in the lab or it's going to do a, you know, a different position, it may be exploring things more strategically, whether it's, you know, consulting or just getting that broader sense of what else is out there and what real work looks like can be really powerful. And I do to this day, and you know, many of my mentees know this as well, I do recommend it. I think it's a really valuable set of experiences to do before grad school.